Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Professor's fine and dandy. Looking to make us some more money. I'll tell you, I was listening to some of these idiots talk about the inflation, the economy, gold, Bitcoin. They have no idea what they're talking about. Let me turn off this movie.
I was at half of Colorado. So this is prepared, Eddie? As you said, with 101, doesn't everybody know that? I would. Where was he 2 years ago?
Sometimes my clicker doesn't want to click. All right, anyway. So, amazing how stupid these people are, but they do the videos anyway. And you just shake your head at them. All right, let's start off with our gold, which is starting to move. 26.96, which is, it's been 26.60 for a month. Here we go. A little bit at 10 o'clock drop to 26.80, and then about noon up to 26.95. We got close to 2,700, and we're at 26.96. Get my check tomorrow. I will probably buy gold Friday, although that might be a mistake. I might need to buy it tomorrow. Silver booming to 30.63. Hopefully, it will all start taking off. I think Trump's inauguration on the 20th, the shit's going to hit the fan because they're going to want to make Trump look bad. And more importantly, they don't want to make Biden look bad. So they're just going to blame Trump for all the shit Biden did. And I think you'll see a lot of shit happen in the next 2 weeks. Anyway, we know it's paper. We know you can't print it. I mean, it's the only way an economy can survive is on a strong dollar. We don't have a strong dollar. Our dollar's worthless, but yet nobody understands that. I just love it. All right. What the fuck? All right. We'll go to football, then we'll go back to economics. So in football, again, $50 buys you the rest of the season through the Super Bowl, if you'd like. NFL odds. Kansas City, 8.5 and 41.5. We've got Detroit, 9.5, 55.5. Sunday we got Philly, 6 and 44. And Sunday night we got Baltimore. You can get a 1.5 at FanDuel, 51.5 on that game. So let's see if we got any weather issues. I didn't see weather problems before, but we'll check again. Kansas City is sunny and 22 with 14-mile-an-hour winds. Partly cloudy with a low around 8. I don't know when it gets to be 8, but it's cold. Houston won't like it. Warm weather team who plays in the dome will not like cold weather. Detroit's in the dome. It doesn't matter. LA, Philly, we got 37 with the chance of rain and 9-mile-an-hour winds. LA won't like the cold weather. Not too windy. They won't like the rain if there's rain. And Buffalo, Baltimore, this is 9 degrees, chance of snow showers, and 6-mile-an-hour winds. Let's just get into this. 6-mile-an-hour winds, chance of snow showers. Chance of snows are mostly cloudy with a low around 4. Chance participant. It won't have really affect these teams. Maybe Lamar a little bit more. He can't throw anyway. Josh Allen will not affect. Now remember, the winner of this game is going to be in big trouble because they will be flat. This is an emotional game because both teams are scared of losing. That's what the emotion is. Buffalo knows they can lose to Baltimore. Baltimore knows they can lose to Buffalo. Fear makes for more emotion and a lot of turnovers. So we will see. I think Buffalo at home is a very strong play. Home dog. Baltimore's a good road favorite, but we'll see. So let's go through this. KC, Houston, Stroud and Mahomes. Houston doesn't score much, 22 defense. KC's an 18 with a 19 defense. I think they're an 18. What were they? Yeah, they're an 18 with an 18 defense. Not a 19. So very strong Steve Spagnuolo defense. They're laying 8.5 everywhere. You get it under a field goal. Pretty good play. I'd say Houston has no chance of winning the game. And whenever I hear, well, they'll keep it close, I want to bet a dog that can win. I don't want to bet a dog that can keep it close. Dogs that keep it close, forget about. There's a lot of times, look at Minnesota, Detroit. Oh, they'll keep it close. No, they won't. They didn't score either. They didn't get the over, but they didn't keep it close. I see KC by about a touchdown here. Houston doesn't have the offense capability against Spagnuolo. They don't have that kind of offense. Stroud has never won a big game. 2 losses to Michigan. Last year they won the. It's like this year they beat San Diego at home as a home dog. Last year I think it was Miami or somebody. And then they went on the road against Baltimore, got killed. Now they're going on the road to KC. Maybe they'll keep it close. Scoring, it's going to be cold. It's going to be windy, so I don't expect a lot of points in the game. Washington, Detroit. How do we analyze this game? So we've got Detroit with a lot of injuries on defense. Now, like they did to Minnesota, was blitz Darnell, which is what the Rams did. And Darnell has never seen a blitz before, apparently. This guy, to call him an NFL quarterback, I don't know. Or it's the play caller, Bum Phillips, Wade Phillips' son, who's got his head way up his ass. They look good against the weaker teams, but against Detroit and the Rams. Detroit without a defense, and they're throwing the ball 20 yards downfield with the blitz on them. That's it. You don't have regular little flares and screens and stuff against the blitz, really. You don't you don't have that. I question the offensive coordinator. I don't know about Darnell. He had a good year, but even some of their games they won very, very lightly. Um, Arizona, I think they beat by one, and there was a few games that they were just not dominant in. So again, so Detroit, Washington. All right, now we got explosive teams both times. Detroit very explosive, as we know, because of the balance, not because golf. It's because they have balance. They got running and passing, which is critical. A good offensive line, so they can. That's why they go for it on fourth down a lot. It's psychological. You got to stay out on the field, but it's also because they have a good offensive line that they feel, oh, we'll run it on you. And if they stack against the run, they can hit the tight end or St. Thomas. The concern is Washington going to Philly and winning, beating Atlanta, and now going to Tampa and winning. Tampa's, they're not that far from Detroit. Philadelphia is certainly right on par with Detroit. So does Washington have a chance in this game? I absolutely think they do. But can they get the win? I mean, with Daniels, I wouldn't put it past him. I'd be careful. But Daniels is such a good quarterback. I'm tired of this because he's a rookie crap. He beat Alabama. That's enough for me. And why do I go back to Alabama? Because they're freaking they're Alabama. I mean, that's a big college game. Going to Ohio State, going to Alabama, and you beat them, right? And he beat them badly. So the other year he got hit on the head with the cheap shot. Hey, Ryan, just stopping by, say hello. Good day. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. Looking forward to this weekend. Last weekend it was really kind of difficult. I didn't have good plays. In other words, I look at the game and I'm comfortable with it and I play it. So some of the games were forced last week. The Washington Tampa was a very good play. It just didn't get there. Buffalo Denver, again, you have that. You're expecting Denver to score more than 7. I did figure Buffalo would score a lot. I did hit the Pitt Baltimore game, and then San Diego, I was shocked, but that happens this week. I'm very comfortable with the games. So, as I say, sometimes I get pocket aces. Sometimes I don't, but I have to make the plays. This is pocket aces week. I basically like all 4 games. And a lot of them I like both ways. I like the team and I like the total. So I think Detroit scores in the 30s. Tampa got 20 on them, and it was mostly because Washington was keeping the ball from Tampa. Will they be able to do that against Detroit? If they do, I don't think they can win that way. I think they need to score. And therefore, I think if they want to do this little running, take 6 minutes off the clock, they're not going to win. Because Detroit's weakness is their secondary, and they don't have a pass rush. So if you run into them, first of all, it's very hard to run on them. But secondly, you're not taking advantage of their weakness. So you've got to play. I thought Minnesota didn't do that well when they played Detroit, take advantage of their weakness. Detroit had to blitz, and Minnesota was, instead of throwing screens and even traps, See, they don't have a quarterback that can kind of like Daniels can kind of slide away and slide in and juke the end. Darnell can't do that. But they didn't have quick passes. So Washington is far better throwing the ball, and can Detroit blitz them and get to Daniels? I don't think they can. So I think this is definitely going to be could be one of these upper 30 games very easily. Does Detroit win it? Don't be surprised if Washington wins. I'm not calling for that, but I won't be surprised because Daniels is because you won at Philly and won at Tampa. You got me. You can't ignore that. It's like ignoring that there's a $36 trillion debt and ignoring gold because it doesn't move and just going, oh, we're fine. Yeah, there's a debt. And yeah, we keep printing the money, but we're too stupid to understand that means the money's worthless. We'll just keep printing more. So it's the same thing here. To ignore Washington won at Philly and then won at Tampa and beat Atlanta, all 3 playoff games, to ignore that, you got to be crazy. You can't ignore it. But how good's Detroit off of a bye? Does that help them? I don't know. Goff's always been a choke everywhere. That's why the Rams let him go. He was a choke at Cal. He played his college ball at Cal. They played Utah in the championship game for the Pac-10, and he threw 5 interceptions in that game, and Utah killed him. And he gets to the Rams, he chokes in the playoffs, then he chokes in the Super Bowl, then he comes to Detroit. He choked last year in the championship game. I just don't see. I don't really trust Goff to win a game. He will have some turnovers, but Daniels, I don't know if he'll have turnovers. He'll probably have a 1 or 2. It could be a closer game, and it could definitely be a high-scoring game. You're inside. There's no weather to worry about. It's the only indoor game we have left. Well, if LA beats Philly, it'd be indoors. Baltimore, Buffalo are outdoors. So is Kansas City. It ain't going to be Houston. So I think Detroit wins by about a touchdown, maybe 10, and definitely will be over. They'll both be in the upper 30s, I think. I don't see any other way. I can't see Washington just taking Army Navy at 9-minute drives, kicking field goals. Detroit will score in 2 minutes on you with that St. Thomas guy and the running back from Alabama. So I just don't see that. I take 8 minutes off the clock, kick a field goal, and in 2 minutes you score a touchdown. Now your defense is going to get tired, but guess what? They're winning. So I think this has to be high scoring in the inside. Rams and Philly. I think Philly wins by at least 14 points, if not 21. Philly, strong defense is the difference here. The Rams defense looked good against Darnold. It ain't going to look good against Barkley. You've got Barkley and Hurts, and you can't where against many you just keyed on Darnold, and they sacked him 15 times. You can't do that here. They go after Hurts, you're going to run Barkley or throw screens to him, or, you got the receivers. Kellen Moore probably pretty good at screening the ball. So I look at Philly winning at home with this killer defense. It's funny. I was on Twitter today, and there was I follow Georgia, and there was a picture of Georgia with Philadelphia was playing, I think, the Rams this week. And there was like all the Georgia guys, and there was like 6 Philly guys and 1 Ram or 2 Ram guys. And it was all my defensive players from that shutout defense. And now you understand why Philly's so strong. That's why you grab Georgia defensive players. You grab them, and surprise, surprise, you're letting up 18 a game, and you're shutting everybody down. I would say there's no chance for the Rams to win. Puka Nacua, as good as he is, I don't see it. You're not going to hold them to 6. Barkley's the difference because it's balanced. It's cold. It's in Philly. It's the defense. You're betting Barkley in the defense, right? That's what you need in a playoff game, a strong running game, because you're worried then the Rams can't just blitz, and the strong defense and the Rams can't do much. I don't see Philly losing at home in this game, setting up the massive game with Detroit, which if you give me more than 10 points with Philly in a teaser, we're betting them. In their last game, Baltimore won 1.5. You can get a 1.5. And I think Buffalo wins this game, I think it's 30-27-ish, right? Baltimore scores. And when they get near the end zone, Henry will score. Buffalo will get near the end zone, and Josh Allen will score. This will be like the Lion game. You put up 40 points on the Lions. That's even though their secondary is weak. Nobody else is really doing that. It's revenge. They keep losing to Baltimore, but at Baltimore, here you got sort of a revenge game. But I think Buffalo beating Kansas City at home gives them the confidence to beat Baltimore at home. Yes, you've got Henry, and yes, Buffalo has Cook from Georgia, but they don't. It's really Josh Allen's their runner, and I just think that's what you have. But I just think it's cold, which definitely helps Buffalo because it's at home and they're used to it. And Baltimore, I don't see Lamar. He's from Florida. He played at Louisville. He's not ready for cold weather. He doesn't throw good. He kind of shuttles the pass. He doesn't like throw it. He kind of pushes it. Buffalo's defense will show up. Again, I think this is 30-27. I definitely love Buffalo as a home dog, and you can get 7.5. That spread's wrong. Buffalo should be at least a 3-point favorite at home. To be a home dog to Baltimore, I could see it to KC. I can't see it here. You got to go dog in this game. Now, if Buffalo is 1.5, 2 points, I would probably take Baltimore in the 8. In this case, I got to take Buffalo in the points and definitely an over. Even though it's cold, they'll go score because it's a championship game. They're not going to 10-7 this one. It's not going to be like the Denver when they got 9. The cold weather didn't bother Buffalo last week. It won't bother them this week. But Baltimore has to show up. Lamar always chokes in the big games. Will choke in this one, but I think they will score. So definitely Buffalo as a home dog is a joke. And Baltimore, I wouldn't take Baltimore +5. Never in this game. Never in this spot. This is all Buffalo +7.5. This is an over bet. I'm not thinking of under 57.5. Maybe that's okay, but we know how Baltimore scores, and Buffalo last time was 35-10. They didn't score on Baltimore. So I'm sure they're figuring that out. Baltimore does not have a strong defense like it usually does. This defense is pretty weak. The secondary, pretty weak. I don't know what happened in the first meeting if Baltimore just jumped on them and then it was all passing. But I'm definitely looking for Buffalo to, at worst, lose by a field goal. But I think they're going to win. So I think you're looking at KC, Detroit, Philly, and Buffalo next weekend. Baltimore's not going as very, very, very rarely does a road favorite go and win in the playoffs. All right, we saw it last week. San Diego, they got killed. Minnesota, they got killed. The Miami Dolphins and the Raiders, 74. The Dolphins were favored, and they didn't get killed, but they lost. Steelers went there, and I think Oakland was favored over Pittsburgh. That would have been the lock of life if I'm getting the Steelers in 74 as a dog at Oakland after Oakland just beat Miami and was going to be flatter than a pancake. So what we see here is if Buffalo goes to KC, we're going to jump on KC, and if Detroit and Philly, if it's more than 4, then we take Philly in 10. Philly has the defense to stop Detroit and the offense with Barkley to really take advantage of their weak defense. KC, we know them at home. Buffalo got them in the regular season, but KC wins the game in the postseason. Mahomes, that's where he comes from. So Alex thinks, I don't know what he's thinking. Mahomes is what? What is he, like 10-2 in a playoff game, and you're, he's won 3 Super Bowls, but now he's going to lose to Houston. I mean, come on, man. I mean, we want critical, stoic thinking here. So that's how I view it. I can't see KC or Detroit losing. Washington has probably a 10-15% chance of winning, so it's not 0. Philly, I think the Rams are 0, and Buffalo as a home dog is probably 90% they're going to cover, and maybe 65% that they win. Lamar just is not. This is not Lamar. He doesn't go on the road and win a playoff game. He beats weak teams. He doesn't beat good teams in the playoffs. Never has, never will. He's not a good quarterback. He kind of runs around, but now you're just handing the ball to Henry. Well, I'm sure Buffalo will key on Henry. I would do it like they do in college. I would key on Henry and make Lamar beat you throwing, which he can't do. And then you got, I keep saying Jim Kelly, and then you got Josh Allen, who the game he did against Detroit impressed me. And then 31 on Denver. Denver had a really good defense, better than Baltimore's. So I can't see Buffalo plus 7.5 losing. I can't see that. No, I don't see it. Real quick, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Again, I got 2017 Ohio State. I think you're looking at a very stringy Notre Dame defense. Will Howard, what happened against Michigan? Tennessee really, it was cold at Ohio. So, okay, because Tennessee had a good defense. And then against Oregon, I don't know what happened that game. And then last week, they go against Texas, who, has a good defense like Notre Dame. And it was really 21-14. So I don't expect Ohio State to score much more than 21. And Notre Dame put up really they put up 9 on Georgia because they had like a strip sack at the 5 and a kickoff return. So they didn't do anything against Georgia offensively. And then against Penn State, they put up 27, but I didn't really see what they did there. They're not going to do that against Ohio State. Penn State's always a fake team. But I think, can you take Notre Dame as the dog? I'm pretty sure you could take 14.5 in Notre Dame. Penn State couldn't really blow them out. I don't see Ohio State doesn't have the offense to really do it. It'll be probably a Michigan type of game, 13-10. Could Notre Dame win? Absolutely. Ohio State with Ryan Day is choke city. You can't beat Michigan. Don't tell me you're going to beat Notre Dame here. It's a similar style defense. They're going to struggle. Outside of that, I think Ohio State's defense, though, keeps Notre Dame in check. I think the best play is under in the game. You can take, I think, 14.5. I think I trust more than Ohio State laying 2.5. I mean, these are the biggest chokers over the last 5-6 years that any team I've ever seen. This Ryan Day should be fired. He should have been fired for losing to Michigan last year, but now losing to him this year. No. I mean, they fire coaches for losing to Michigan, unlike Michigan doesn't fire their coach. But they have a hard time with strong defenses that can cover, and that's what you got here. So usually you play defenses in the big game. Kansas City, you've got Philadelphia. Detroit doesn't really, and Washington neither really have that strong defense. And then Buffalo, Baltimore, okay, defense is not great, not as good as San Diego's and the other Denver's, Kansas City's. So that'd be football. One note on Prime Senior and Prime Junior in Dallas. So Dallas lets McCarthy go, and here's Prime. Now, Prime is not an NFL coach. If it is, it's a gimmick. It's a market. It's like Vince McMahon marketing gimmick. You basically have this gimmick of we'll hire Prime. So, and then as we've talked, then Prime will draft his son. So they'll trade to get the first pick to get Prime Jr., to quarterback because Dak's obviously terrible. And so it'll be Prime Senior and Prime Junior, and they won't win anything. Prime Junior is not a very good quarterback. Dylan Gabriel's much better, but now he's blinded, and it's Deion's grabbing his son. That's all I can say. So keep that in mind. That's what you have. So a lot of coaches are opening. What I see them interviewing, it'll be the same thing a year or two from now. They'll be firing him again. And here's Ron Rivera. What did he do? He did shit at Carolina, goes to Washington, does shit there. And who's going to hire him to do what? To do shit? The Pittsburgh offensive coordinator used to coach Atlanta. He sucks. He's a terrible offensive coordinator. What are you going to do with him? Nothing. So you've got bad coaching candidates, and these idiots are going to hire them again because they don't know what they're doing. Look, either you can coach or you can't, right? It's like quarterback. Either he's Penix and he's Nix and he's Daniels, or he's not. Caleb, he needs yours. Well, Daniels doesn't need yours, and Nix doesn't need yours, and Penix doesn't need yours. Why does Caleb need yours? That's the point. Either you know what you're doing or you don't. And I'm sorry, but Caleb doesn't know what he's doing, which means the Bears GM doesn't know what he's doing. Trubisky, Fields, and now Caleb. That's 3 losers in a row. But not only that, you could have had Daniels, or you could have had Daniels, or you certainly could have had Penix, and you passed on them for Caleb. Means you don't know what you're looking at. Like I kept saying, Caleb against Notre Dame got sacked 5 times, 3 interceptions and a fumble, and they lost by 20. What did you see in that game that said, oh yeah, Caleb's my man? Daniels we saw. Bo Nix and Penix is the one we really saw against Oregon twice, against Texas. Why do you think you watch those big games? That's when the quarterback shows he's got balls, he's good. That's the point of it. So I really don't get, why it's that. Why would you draft Caleb when he didn't show anything in a big game? Lost to UCLA, lost to Oregon, lost to Notre Dame. Oh yeah, we'll draft him number 1. Okay, if he's at the end of the first round, maybe you stab him. But the first pick, you think this guy? So it's the same thing I have this year. There is very few quarterbacks. I went through the stats yesterday, and I mean, I only had a handful of quarterbacks over 30 touchdowns. You had Gabriel. You did have Prime Junior, but not. It's they don't run the ball. The kid from Texas State, McLeod, is good. Haynes King, but you'd win with the guy. He's not a great quarterback, but he's good and he's a winner. Pavia, I think, would be a very good pick I'm not sure if he's coming out or not. The kid from Indiana is pretty good. Rourke, he was like 29 touchdowns and 4 picks. and they won every game. So I mean, he was fine. I wouldn't draft Penn State or Ohio State's quarterback or Notre Dame. Riley Leonard's terrible. Cam Ward, I don't think is a number one pick. This is the problem. The guy's decent, and you make him the number one pick. He's not a number one pick. I don't know if you can draft a quarterback number one because you got to pay him, and I mean, you can't even figure out who's the best quarterback. I mean, if I was taking a quarterback one, it would be probably Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, but I don't see a number one quarterback like I saw Daniels and Penix last year. I don't really see that. I wouldn't take a quarterback in the top 10. There's a bunch of running backs I would take. And enough with these offensive linemen in the first round. It doesn't help your team. It's a mistake, really. You're wasting it because it's a nothing position. Even if you have a good offense, it doesn't matter. That's not what wins you the games. It's the defense. It helps having a good offensive line if you can qualify what a good offensive line is. But that, like I said, I can draft the Ohio State left or right tackle in the third round, and I can draft the Penn State guard or the Michigan center. I can get those guys third, fourth round. I'm not worried about it. There's all the same. It's not like quarterbacks or running backs. I got to draft Scatterboo in the first 10 picks, Gentry from Boise State, the kid from Iowa. I got to draft those guys way up top because they won't be there, but they're game changers. That's like Henry and Barkley, right? That's who you got to take. You cannot take you can't take an offensive lineman in the first round because you can't differentiate the kid from Ohio State in the first round from the kid from USC in the third round. You can't differentiate it. I mean, how many linemen are undrafted that are on these teams? And how many first-round draft pick offensive linemen can you name or remember? I can't remember anybody because I think it's a terrible pick. I think defensively, yes. I mean, you get a Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. That's a whole lot better than an offensive lineman from Syracuse, right? I mean, the Green Bay Packers drafted the guy from Michigan State ahead of Barry Sanders. How did that turn out? Even if he was great, he was no Barry Sanders, and that's the point. And the guy got hurt and never played anyway. Just like the San Diego. Could have had Brock Bowers. How did that turn out? You drafted a guard from Notre Dame who got hurt and never played. But when in the playoffs, when you needed Brock Bowers, you didn't have him. So don't be stupid and draft offensive linemen in the first round. It's just a big mistake. So, yeah, you got a lot of defense. I'm not sure I'd grab cornerbacks. I think I'm drafting linebackers who can rush the passer or very strong Georgia defensive linemen or Ole Miss and Tennessee have two studs on their defense. Ole Miss had two great defensive ends. So did Tennessee. That's what I'd be drafting ahead of these quarterbacks are lousy. It's funny now the Giants could have had Penix, right? And they drafted who knows. Now they get rid of Daniel Jones, and now they're going to draft a quarterback who doesn't exist. Minnesota's really fucked unless they get a different offensive coordinator who knows how to handle a blitz. Minnesota's fucked because every team will blitz them now, and Darnold's worthless. McCarthy can't throw, so now they still need a quarterback. They had a great season, but they'll never do that next year with Darnold. There's a reason he sucked, and that reason is because he sucks. What else? So let's see these hirings. They'll probably be worthless. The draft will be useless. A few key players. And they never go like Scatterboo should be like a top 10 pick, but he'll go in the second round. You're like, why? Brock Bowers. How does San Diego not take Brock Bowers Brock Bowers last year. Did you not watch Georgia? And the guy was All-American like every year and was unbelievable. But you took a guard from Notre Dame, and then Oakland takes him. Unfortunately, Oakland doesn't have a coach or GM or a quarterback to throw the ball to Brock Bowers. You got rid of Devontae Adams. What did you do with that draft pick? So Oakland's again in a mess because there's no quarterbacks for them to take. Like I said, you got Dylan Gabriel, and that's it. I mean, Prime Junior is not it, and Cam Ward wasn't anything at Washington. So it was a good scheme maybe at Miami, but I don't see them doing anything. So keep that in mind. What are we looking at this week? Mahomes. We're looking at Josh Allen and Lamar and Henry, and we're looking at Philadelphia's wicked defense, and we're looking at Detroit with the balanced offense going against Jalen Daniels. And they don't have enough help for Jalen Daniels, right? They got the receiver, but that's it. They don't really. Zach Ertz, I think, is the tight end. The running back, I think Eckler, who's okay, but that they need another. They need the Henry or the Barkley, and then they could beat Detroit. But their defense just isn't strong enough to stop Detroit, and that's the problem. So offensively, Daniels can do some damage, but Detroit's going to run up and down the field on them, and that's the problem. Washington winning this game. They could beat Philly because he was able to get through on Philly's defense, but they don't have the defense to stop Detroit. That's where the game gets. So again, we're looking at Philly's defense. We're more or less looking at Detroit's offense, which is going to catch up with them, their weak defense, when they play Philadelphia. And then Buffalo, Baltimore, two choke quarterbacks, but they're at home, so Buffalo won't choke as bad. But Henry's only good if you're leading. If they're down 21-0, you're not giving the ball to Henry. And then if Lamar gets it, he just shot puts it. So I think Zay Flowers, he hurt his knee, so I can't imagine he's playing. And that's going to be the problem. You can take Henry out of the game if you get a lead. So look for Buffalo to get up, and then Henry's useless because you can't run the ball, right? You don't have time. So that'll be the key. So if Baltimore gets the lead, then they can run Henry. But if Buffalo gets the lead, Henry's out of the game, then they don't have a chance because Lamar ain't winning a playoff game. All right. Let's go to a little economics. Amazing how these guys on YouTube are all a bunch of fucking morons. Here's this guy, Jim Rickards. He's a communist and he's a Keynesian. And in his thing, he says, well, we haven't had inflation in 8 years. And he's worried about deflation, okay, which are prices coming down. It's a made up word because there's no such, the market controls prices, there's nothing deflation where the prices come down. And we haven't had inflation in 8 years. Are you out of your mind? We've had inflation since 1971. It's never gone away. They paint over it. When Nixon, they didn't get rid of it. They lowered prices, but they didn't kill the inflation. 2008, you had mass inflation. It hasn't gone anywhere. And now you got a $36 trillion debt to pay over the inflation. But you can't just keep printing money. That doesn't get rid of the inflation. I don't know why people are this stupid. Well, if we keep printing money, then the inflation will go away. How is that? By printing money is the inflation. You're inflating the money supply. So by printing more money, the money supply goes even higher. How does that get rid of inflation? So people like this are too stupid to do shows. Now I know I saved some. Well, I think I liked them, but I guess not. Now here's a guy that we don't have to listen to it. Talks about the CPI, shocks the market. CPI is pricing index, consumer pricing index. Absolutely a joke. Absolutely not true. Absolutely, totally miscorrect. It it's supposed to measure inflation by seeing where the prices are at. But as we know, the prices, first of all, what they choose. Secondly, they're all fictitious numbers. And thirdly, prices don't measure inflation. The money supply, how much money you print is inflation, period. End of line. Nothing to do with prices. The idea is the dollar's losing value, so it takes more dollars to buy the goods. But that's not true in a lot of cases. So therefore, the market, if the market says no to ribs at $45, even though that's where they should be, the guy can't sell it for 45, so you think inflation's down. No, the money's still being printed. People just have to spend more on groceries and heat and electricity. They don't have money for ribs, so they don't get the ribs. That doesn't mean inflation's down. That's the point of you can't really look at prices. You can only look at money supply and $36 trillion debt, realizing the dollar's worthless. Now, you're expecting everything to be $1,000 for a Coca Cola. It's not going to happen because Coke can't sell at that rate. They got to sell at market. We are a free market country. So a lot of the inflation gets, like Venezuela or Zimbabwe had 10,000% inflation, which is not true. But their government put in price controls so nobody could sell and they had to sell for more, but the prices really go up because the money's worthless, but you can't measure it in a percentage. What percent are you measuring the prices in? So it's really, I don't even look at the CPI. I don't care. I care about the money being printed is what is the inflation, and that the money has no value. And when nobody wants it, all the BRICS countries are getting rid of it and buying gold. That's the end of it, right? If nobody wants it, it has no value, no matter what the CPI says. They're not looking at the value of the dollar going out. Oh, inflation's getting better. Look, it went down to 3%. Oh, 3% is a fantasy. As I said, you can't measure inflation in percentage. And inflation hasn't gone down because you've not stopped printing the money. You go pay $1 trillion to the debt every quarter. Where are you getting that money? Oh, you're printing it. Well, how the fuck is inflation going down if you're printing another trillion and then all the government spending that they print the money for? That's the problem. As I said, most of the inflation comes from banks lending out the money. And when the banks can't, when everybody defaults on these commercial real estates and the mortgages and the cars, when they start defaulting on that, is when the banks cry, steal your money, and then basically say, well, bail us out because we're too stupid to be a bank. No, you should let the bank crash because you're managed poorly, you don't know what you're doing, and it needs to go. And that's the problem. So you've got to kind of understand that. So this guy's talking CPI. I don't even listen. um this is the Rickards one, the fatal flaws of Bitcoin. The fact that it's not real is probably the biggest thing, but he doesn't say that. This guy, panic buying has started. We've never seen anything like it. Yeah, because the whole world's about to collapse because every country's using paper money, which is worthless. The digital money is even more worthless. And the only guys with brains are the BRICS, Russia, China, India, Saudi Arabia, who are buying gold, which is real money, because you can't inflate it. It's amazing how few of these people understand that. I don't know. I just sit there and my jaw drops like, you're saying you know what you're talking about, Andy Schechtman or some of these guys, and they don't have a clue. And you just, to quote Bobby, it's a shake my head moment. They don't understand. It's nobody wants the dollar. You call it the reserve currency, but what does that mean? It's worthless. It doesn't mean you can just keep printing and printing and printing until it runs out. I mean, you can't. That's not what it means. Is it's a reserve currency, so we can print. We can print. 100 trillion of these. No, you can't. You can't ruin the money by overprinting it. And it's not like one guy was talking at the office. He says, "Well, we just need be more productive." I said, "No, the dollar's gone. You've printed way too many dollars to have any value of the dollar. It's gone." So he says, "Oh, we got to go back to the gold standard." I go, "We need to, but we won't, because the bankers who are running the country don't want to be limited out of the dollar and be stuck with gold, which they can't print. That's why we don't have any gold. It's more or less so we can't go to the gold standard, but then we're going to be broke, and the bankers, all Keynesians, won't understand that. We'll just keep printing more. It's worthless. I don't understand how they miss the dot, or they don't want to see the dot. You have something worth nothing. We're going to print more of it, and that's going to make it worth something. I mean, I love that one. Well, yeah, inflation, it'll be a little bit low, but it'll come back in 6 months. No, it won't. It can't come back. It's gone. What did the Germans do? If I can find that, I will tell you. So in World War II, I don't have to go to my notes because I know it, but I will just to read it. The trade cycle will not happen if it's created by an increase in savings, only by not by an increase in the money supply, which is what happens when they print it. Let's see. Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act caused the Depression, trade implosion, major reason of World War II. Let the war parties come into power because everybody was broke from that. Where is that? I read it yesterday. I went through all my notes in my one book. I got to go through my notes in the other. Anyway, I'll keep looking for it, but what I want to read. Oh, here's lesson from the German inflation is probably it. Hyperinflation, 1919 and 1923 in Germany. The Reichsbank printed a lot of money. They got off of gold. They inflated for the war, World War I, to pay the money back. Circulations of up to 245 billion times. Prices went up 1.380 billion times. That's hyperinflation, everybody. When they keep printing and the prices just keep going up and up, and everybody panics. But where is it? Anyway, they got off of that Reichsmark and went to the Deutschmark. That's how they got off of inflation for a little bit until Hitler came in and they ran out of money again. Darn. See, that's what everybody wants to talk hyperinflation. That's what it is. You're printing money and people are buying and the prices go up faster than you print it. That's hyperinflation. That's why we're not in hyperinflation. Anyway, I'll find it later. The Depression. Let's talk about the Depression because we're about to visit it again. The Great Depression by Seinholz, cause of depression, business stagnation and unemployment, the business cycle boom and bust, stock markets crashed, interest rates went up, businesses declined, profits dropped because there was no buyers to buy the goods. Government price control, high tariffs are a big problem. And what are we about to do? Do tariffs. You out of your fucking mind. It went worldwide. Farming collapsed because we couldn't export because nobody was going to buy our things because of the tariffs. This led to a banking crisis because the banks loaned the money out and couldn't get the money back. Well, what's happening now? The banks, commercial real estate, houses and cars can't get the money back. Here comes another. Look how history repeats. This led to a banking crisis. 1931, unemployment, 8 million. 1932, government doubled income tax. So you're doubling income tax, which has got to be the stupidest thing in the world. Why there is even income tax in the first place should never happen. But if you double it, that takes money out of what it does is it takes money out of our hands and it goes into the government. Well, the government isn't really part of the market. We are. We go to the grocery store and buy clothes, so all these stores make money. The government doesn't. They just steal it and buy expensive houses and private jets. So why would you double the income tax? So government caused the depression. Big fucking really big surprise. Tariffs, price fixing for farmers, high income tax, and then subsidies where they gave money to their friends. Oh, that never happens. All other taxes were raised. Of course, a bad idea. FDR devalued the dollar by 40% and seized gold holdings, started minimum wage, government spending at 10 billion, revenues were only 3 billion. Sounds like what's going on now. So if you get 3 billion in, how do you spend 10 billion? How do we do it now? So they think they're going to get money on income tax, so they raise the income tax and the taxes, but we don't have any money. So if you take all of our money, we can't pay sales tax because we're not buying anything. Your income tax is going to be reduced if I'm not working. I'm not going to pay you much. And that's the part they always miss. You should first of all, you shouldn't have income tax. You shouldn't be penalized by working. Where did that come in? You're my partner now? I got to pay you a percentage of tax because I'm working? Take a good look at your paycheck. Yeah, it's $2,000. Then they take $400 or $500 out for federal income tax. You're out of your fucking. You're my partner. I don't need a partner. Thank you very much. NRA, National Recovery Administration, was terrible. Labor unions are bad news because they raise the wages for the employees. What do we know about the Great Crash by Reynolds? The 1920s were great, not bad. Stocks crashed due to government intervention and the Smooth-Hartley Tariff Act. Bill calling for increased tariffs on imports, monetary control, and the political business cycle by Poole. That was a pretty good little section there. Inflation reduces the labor productivity and produces unemployment. There's something called the Phillips curve. It's not real. The curve is a joke. Inflation and unemployment are meaningless, as I keep saying. What does the Keynesian government, the Fed, do? They look at unemployment. Why? It's about people having money and spending in the economy. It's really about the money being prudent. If the money is not solid, it doesn't matter if you're working or not. You're not making real money. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I get paid tomorrow. Friday, I'm Rumpelstiltskin. I'm buying gold. I don't know. I mean, I probably will buy an ounce, and I'm hoping gold doesn't go too crazy tomorrow. And I'll wait till 10:30 and go on Friday. But we're getting to the point. Like, okay, we can kind of see not the light at the end of the tunnel, but we can kind of see the tidal waves getting closer and closer, the snowball. So we've got to be careful and start Rumpelstiltskin a little bit faster and a little bit. Maybe I was going to buy a half ounce. I might buy the ounce. And, because my alternative is the money's in the safe, not in the bank. It's in the safe. How much money do I need in the safe? And how much more gold should I buy? So you get, well, yeah, I can push it and buy an ounce, which I probably, need to do. Morning, afternoon, Luke. We're one more catastrophe away from the whole thing breaking, and that's going to be Trump's tariffs. Will be the end of the road. Gold sharp up today, 26.97 it got to. Silver's 30.88. Silver went crazy today. Again, it's paper and it's derivatives, which everybody on Bloomberg doesn't seem to understand. But we got BRICS. They're just waiting for. I think when Trump takes over, the shit hits the fan because they don't want to. If the shit hits the fan now, it's Biden's fault. But if they wait till the 21st and Trump takes over and he does the tariffs, then the shit hits the fan and they blame Trump. Well, it's Trump's tariffs, not Biden. Biden didn't do anything. Biden was perfect for the Keynesians, but no, that's the problem, and they'll push it on to Trump, and George Soros is behind it because he doesn't like Trump and he doesn't like Elon Musk, and he'll fuck us over good, and that's your it. That's you can feel it, you can see it. Gold's not going down. It stayed at 26.50, 26.60 for a month, and now it finally. I would guarantee you that it'll be 27.50 by Friday night, right? It's finally going to make its move, I believe. And then it's going to move. And I think that's what Egon says. Silver, we need to get rid of COMEX. We need to blow up the fucking thing because they have too many derivatives where they're going to lose their ass if they keep the derivative, if they keep COMEX, the banks can't handle the derivatives that they've got at $20, $22, $24 for silver. It'll never get down there. There's way too much demand for it. And they're pretty much getting tired of going to COMEX because COMEX is 4 years behind in covering. But they don't have Basel III for silver like they do in gold. That's why you see gold jumping up. I love when they say, well, gold's up because everybody's afraid of the Trump tariffs. And you're like, hey, no, we don't give a fuck about the Trump tariffs for gold because that's not going to end the dollar. The dollar is 99% gone. It's going, long gone. And that's why gold's going up. It's the central banks and my class buying it. Let's see. Government is the only force that can interfere with the purchase and sale of labor by labor laws, taxes, levies, permits, licenses. Labor unions are bad. Government backs unions to control the workforce. I don't know how they control it. Inflation lowers labor productivity. Cyclical unemployment by Seinholtz. These were all the books I read in the class. Not the whole book, just a chapter of some of these. Government is solely responsible for the business cycle and the unemployment that results. The complexities of the division of labor. Most productive countries are hurt less than the least productive countries. So Germany and France and the UK and us don't get hurt as much by it because, you're still working. You still have to produce. The capitalist system, contribution to production, government intervention. Government is solely responsible for the business cycle. Eliminating runaway inflation lessons from the German hyperinflation. The Germans printed new money and halted future inflation expectations. That's what I was finally looking for. So they came out with the Deutschmark to get rid of the Reichsmark. This is where I'm telling you, we'll get rid of the dollar and everything priced in dollars goes to zero. And then we need to come out with the Deutschmark or whatever our new currency is to temporarily stop the inflation. But everything priced and these go out. And that's what Germany did. That's where I kind of get it from, and knowing we're going to go to gold. But they printed new money, and so they got rid of the old money, and it settled it down for a few years till Hitler took power, and he started using fake money. He didn't even use this. He would like use this. All right, this is money now, and they all went back in and made planes and tanks, and everybody was unemployed, got a new job for the government wearing a nice black uniform. And that's what happened because you fucked up with this depression. Everybody was out of work. So, oh yeah, we got a job for you wearing this uniform. And that's why all the armies grew, is because they did it. But then Germany was broke because the Deutschmark was never anything. It wasn't backed either. And so Hitler, knowing this, that's why he went after the gold, because everybody knows you can't fuck with gold. Gold's the man. Luke, T is going to have a major shitstorm on his hands. That's why he's doing the tariffs, because he thinks he what he wants to do is get rid of income tax and get rid of the tax on Social Security. He knows that if we have the money, it's better than the government having the money. He knows that's his only way out, is we keep our money and go spending, and we, through sales tax and things like that, he gets more money in to hopefully pay off the debt. He knows he's fucked with the debt. He can't go to Bitcoin. He's got to go to gold, but does he have any? Does JP Morgan have any gold? They're all Keynesians. They don't believe in gold. This is the question. So the central bank has no gold, but does JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have the gold that we can then have a gold-backed currency? Because otherwise we're fucked. A banking market collapse. Yeah, well, the banks are done. The banks are done because of the commercial real estate, and people can't pay their mortgage. The defaults are just flying. Makes 2008 look like minor leagues. And then the banks will go out because they're not. That's how they make money, is loaning out your money. You give them 10 grand, they loan out 100 grand. Well, they're expecting to get the 100 grand in, but if they don't get the 100 grand in, they can't give you your 10 grand. And the banks are ready to go out anyway, but these commercial real estate loans that can't be paid back, because they're all done. That's their swan song. My index friend, buddy, that has a few million, lost his job at Bank Mellon. There you go. Well, this is what happens when you don't listen to Luke and the professor. If I were you, I'd say, well, now's a good time to get rid of your 401k and buy gold, because guess what? This is a perfect primer. Why is the Mellon Bank laying off? I saw Facebook laid off 15,000 people today. The banks will start laying off people because they're not getting their loan money in, and then they can't afford the expense, and they still have to pay you your 3% or 2% on your money in the bank if you're stupid enough to leave your money in the bank. So this is why you keep your money at home in a safe, or at a U-Haul, or one of these storage bins in a safe, protected, where you have the only key. Because if you keep your money in the bank, you'll never get it out, because as they don't get the loan money, they're not going to give you your money. Don't forget that. And so the banks will start going out because they're not getting the money in, and they can't support their staff or the buildings. All these building ones will start closing. Like, I think Bank of America, I think, has been closing branches. They can see the writing on the wall. All the JP Morgan people are retiring ahead of they know what's going on. Jamie Dimon's retiring. He sees what's going on. So what is your index? Your buddy with the $4 million. Now what's he going to do? He's got $4 million. Why was he even working? If I have $4 million in my 401k, he must have had the easiest job in the world. Why would you work? If I have $4 million, I'm never working again. I'm buying an island, and that's it. But I'm putting my $4 million into gold, and I'm going to turn it into $40 million. he's got his 4 million that's in monopoly money, and he's going to be broke soon, and he won't be able to find gold to buy. This is what the problem is. I mean, I go to my store. He's only got ounces now. He can't. Nobody has quarters, halves. I found another store that does have quarters and halves, and I'll be going to that. But to buy the ounce, I'll go to my guy's store because he's usually the cheapest. And then with the extra little money the other weeks, because tomorrow it's a check I don't have an expense for. The next week, then I got to pay a little bit on the credit card, so a little, and then I got rent, so that takes care of that last check. So this is the check that I love because I don't it's just keep the check. I can eat it. So ask him about his is he buying gold now? Because obviously the money's gone and the banks are going under and the government's going under. And if he thinks the dollar has a value, he's out of his mind. But he does work for a bank, so he's probably so brainwashed thinking that the dollar has a value. He's out of his mind. So keep me posted on him. Uh, so the Germans printed new money to halt the future inflation expectations of the old money. Lessons of monetary reform. Policymakers must have credibility, convince public to stop inflation. Does our government have any credibility? A little bit more with Trump, but with Biden, he had none. Anti-inflationary policy, one focus, eliminate inflation. Be wary of pessimistic conclusions that inflation can't be removed, which it can unless you have gold. Lessons of German inflation by Hazlitt. The Reich Bank printed a lot of money off of gold, inflated for war. November 1923, circulation of 245 billion times. Prices went up 1380 billion times. Okay, I already read that one. All right. No, that's a little different. Medium of exchange. This is the problem with Bitcoin. It's what everybody wants. And not everybody wants Bitcoin except for Michael Saylor. I heard today on one of these YouTube things that it's, I think, 10 or 20 whales are in Bitcoin, and that's it. So they're the ones keeping the price up. And, Michael Saylor is one of these, and they're going to get burned because it's going to go to zero because it's a Ponzi. If they don't keep putting money in, and eventually they're going to say, this is really stupid, and they're going to pull their money and not replace it, and then they'll probably go buy gold with it once they realize the dollar's gone. Originally, cows were the medium of exchange. Two values, exchange and use. Convenience developed by economics. So it wasn't convenient to carry a cow around with you. That's why this is how we do money, is it's convenient. I could put it in my wallet and I could put 20 of them. Or now it's even more convenient. I just use a card and all my money's in the bank and I go use the debit card to pay for the purchase. So I don't even need to bring the cash with me, but I am bringing the cash. I love when I go to the grocery store and they say, well, there's no cash at this register. And I go, what the fuck do you think I'm paying you with? The debit and the credit card are cash. They're just electric and they're not digital. I don't know how a grocery store can take digital currency, because the problem with it is this whole blockchain thing. It takes them a week to figure out if your money's any good, doesn't it? I mean, when you do it, what are they doing? They're going and they're checking to see if this guy's $100 is good or did he spend it somewhere else. Well, shit, I don't get it. I use a Visa and automatically it comes out of my account. So what is the big deal about the blockchain? And you can never use it at a grocery store because they won't know that it's good. Where the debit card, either it's good or it's not. I got money, yes, okay. And then the next transaction takes away. So I got $1,000, and I go 100 at the grocery store. Now I got 900 left, and it happens immediately. And if I go somewhere else, I got 800 left. There's no blockchain and trying to figure out was the thing any good or not. what a stupid concept is Bitcoin, and I don't know how it can be used at the grocery store. Qualities of the medium of exchange, my favorite. It's portable, which means a little bit does a lot of work. It's scarce, which gives it a high value if it's limited. However, overabundance loses value as that's inflation. Divisible for small exchanges, which we can do at the grocery store. Fungible, everything is the same, it's replaceable. Acceptance, everybody wants it and will take it. Durable, well, nothing's more durable than gold. And value, most marketable commodity. Um, that's all gold. Everything I just said is gold. It used to be this when it was backed by gold, but now the fact that it's not backed by gold is not this. A, it is portable, but B, it is overabundant, so it lost its value to basically nothing. It is divisible for small exchanges. It is replaceable. It is accepted because they have to, but not in Russia, or half the BRICS countries aren't going to accept it. And this isn't really durable. This can burn. Your credit cards goods get stolen. Gold can't burn. Gold is very durable. Carl Menger, value depends on judgment. Right. What will you pay me for my homes is what it's worth. Makes perfect sense. But it works the same way if I'm buying the Mahomes, what I think is a fair value, or steaks or ribs or things at the grocery store. What I am willing to pay for is the judgment that I feel that, and that's where the inflation gets in. You still think $10 is worth $10. So if something costs you $15, I really catch myself going, yeah, but this is inflated dollars. This $10 worth like $2. So really the $15 for the New York strip is really a good value because the dollar is worth nothing. So I'm getting rid of, again, it's getting rid of garbage. And my biggest fear is that I can't buy gold with it anymore because they won't accept it. That's my biggest fear in life, that he won't take dollars anymore for gold. Right. But hopefully we're not there. That's why I'm like, I go buy another ounce on Friday, So it's like, okay, if that happens, I have my gold and my silver. But to answer a lot of your questions about how much should I have, it's as much as you can eat. It's getting out of the dollar is the game, not really. You're buying gold and silver because it's the only lifeboat. But really, if you have more dollars, you get another paycheck, you need to Rumpelstiltskin the dollars and get rid of them and get into more gold and silver. There is not a figure that you cannot have. You just keep accumulating it. China's got 60,000 tons. You think they're saying, well, maybe we have enough? No, they're buying as much as they can because they know that's the key, right? One with the gold makes the rules, right? The golden rule. The market decides that money is marketable in value. So that's my point. The market will say this is worthless. It's over. The market's too stupid in America, but in BRICS, they all know it's over. Functions of money. It's a medium of exchange. You work for money to buy food. That's what the exchange is. So I get the money and I can buy things with it. Store of purchasing power. It's spent over time. It keeps its value. Unit of account, measurement of account, common denomination. Did I make or lose money? So you buy a stock, you bet a football game, or go to the casino. Did I make or lose money? That's the unit of account. So that's what you're trying to do, is make money. We're going to make a lot of money in gold and silver. And Luke's going to buy his house. All right, this is interesting. So, money is a commodity. It used to be cows and grains, as we said, produced by mines. Two values: use and exchange. Specie money is gold or silver. Actual currency, gold coins. Deposit with the goldsmith, and it's a money substitute. A money substitute is a check or a money certificate, which is a gold or silver certificate, is a money certificate. Fiduciary money, acceptance of truth, word, or of honor based on a witness, checks, two ways to know something, observation and faith. Believe you're taking a leap of faith that this is worth something. Um, Produced by banks is fiduciary money. Is it real money? Is this real? Well, the only reason it's real is you can pay your bills with it, and that's all you really care about. But really, it's just paper printed, and it's not backed by gold. Fiat is let it be. I said, let there be light. Fiat money is produced by the governments. That's the Federal Reserve. So it's the fiat money, but the real danger is the fiduciary money produced by the banks, where they're loaning out this money that they don't even have. So that'd be like me loaning you money that I don't have. Oh, I'll loan you 10 grand. I don't have it, but I'm going to loan it to you, and you're going to pay me back at 5% interest. That's what a bank is. They don't have the money they're loaning to you. And then you're going to take it and then pay your house or your car and then pay them interest and pay all the money back that they didn't have in the first place. They don't have any money. It doesn't exist. Here's $100,000 loan for a house. We just made it out of thin air. We don't really have it. And you're going to pay me for 30 years interest on it. What the fuck kind of Ponzi scheme is that? There was one other thing that Rickard said that actually made sense on Bitcoin, and it was like, how do you know you actually have the Bitcoin? Did they credited your account, but do you actually have the Bitcoin? And that was a good point. That was one good point I actually give them credit for, which is what I've said is basically, how do you know you actually have the Bitcoin? Since it's digital, you really have no way of knowing if you got the Bitcoin, do you? You see it in your account, but it just as easily could go out of your account. So if they could put it in your account, they could take it out. And you're being taxed when you sell it, and they know you have it. Somehow it's leaked out what your code is or what your account is. So it was supposed to be that, but because of all the drugs and sex that the Bitcoin's used for, so it's not tracked, they're able to determine who is everybody, which is the whole point of Bitcoin is to be anonymous. Well, you're not anonymous. Gold, you're anonymous. I'll take $2,800. I'll buy an ounce. Thank you very much. Nobody knows I have it. It's gone. And I heard somebody say, well, the store, no, the store doesn't know. The receipt is cash. They don't have my name or anything when I give them cash for the gold. They might know the store buys and sells gold, but that's no surprise. But that doesn't mean they know the customers. I don't want to talk about canes and ruin our evening. Let's see. Yeah. Price system. This is a good one. Prices are signals. There's 4 functions to prices. This is why you can't have price fixing. This is the problem with gold and the price fixing that I tell you about. Allocation of resources to most highly valued use. It's a guide to the production of resources. It's supply and demand and its future productions. Well, if you're not getting the price, you're not going to produce. You don't know what the supply and demand is, the allocation of the resource, and then the guide to the production resource. So, am I going to produce the gold? Well, at this price, no. Look at silver. There's no silver mines because it's $30 an ounce. It's too low, but it's paper. It's not. You're not getting the right signals. So prices are signals, right? And what signal is it sending when they price fix it? It says, well, it's really not anything to invest in. It's not worth much. But that's the wrong signal, because the real price, and that's what I keep shouting about, is the physical price. And the physical price is much higher than the derivative, where they keep flooding the market with paper and they keep trying to do derivatives to keep the price down. That's why I shout going, that's not the right signal. There's huge demand. It's way more value than what they're showing, because the signals are fucked up, because it's not supply and demand signals. It's paper derivative signals. Lucas, when everything starts to go stock market, much of the dollar is going to chase precious metals. Well, that's what I keep saying. This is the Titanic. So what you're saying there is the Titanic, when it's 90% in the water, and everybody on the Titanic realizes the boat's going to sink, and they all start jumping for the lifeboats. Now it's a panic for the lifeboats. Okay. That's what you're going to see. And that's why I made the value so high, was once they start panicking, there is nothing else to go in but gold and silver. You do not go into the euro. Oh, I'm going to go buy euros or pounds or Swiss francs or yen or yuan or rubles or any of these other ones. There is nothing, none of these you're going to get out of this for, only gold and silver. So you got all this huge demand about to go into gold and silver. As Egon says, they can't print anymore. They can't make anymore. It comes out of the ground. They can't produce anymore. And with the more demand, forces the price up. And I think at that point, we end. COMEX says goodbye. It can't stay in business. And the Keynesians will start crying, because instead of buying gold all these times, they're doing derivatives to keep the price down, instead of doing derivatives to put the price up. The derivatives would work if they actually did call derivatives. If they did call derivatives, which means we're expecting the price to go up, they'd make a fortune. Or, God forbid, they actually bought the physical gold coins instead of dicking around. That's what I don't understand with JP Morgan and the mafia, why they're not buying the gold, or maybe they are, instead of fucking around with derivatives, unless they're keeping the price down so they can buy more gold. And that actually makes sense if you think about it. If I want to buy something, I want to buy Canadian Club. Luke, will you do derivatives and lower this to $2? And I'm going to buy a bunch of this at $2 instead of paying $75. So that is, if you're as twisted as I am and think fifth dimensionally, you go, wait a minute, they could be the ones keeping the price down so they can keep buying. And it blows up when there just isn't any more physical left. And we're at that point, silver, there is no physical silver left. And there's very tiny little bits of physical gold left. So once that happens, they can't play the game anymore. Now they let the price run, because now they can't buy anymore at this price. And now they're going to start, then the price is really going to go as you're suggesting. And I agree 1,000%. Too bad your buddy who just lost his job is too stupid to understand that. Let's see. GNP only measures consumer goods, gross national product. I don't know what APS is. It measures the whole process, but I don't know what it is. And my last page is about, after the Civil War, the Fed government becomes more powerful. Government handouts, sets up intervention, ends classical liberalism, which is free markets. So when the Fed comes in, it goes to socialism, and that's why the country's been dying since 1913. The three biggest times, 1879 to 1914, we're on the gold standard. The whole world was on the gold standard. It was the most productive time in the history of the world. Everybody was on the gold standard. Geez, seems pretty easy if you just fucking understand it. Woodrow Wilson in 1913, J.P. Morgan puts him in office, puts in income tax and the Fed. Senators were elected by popular vote. So this idiot Wilson. So there was no income tax before 1913. The Keynesians put it in, and the Fed. 3 keys about J.P. Morgan: antitrust laws, political entrepreneur, and cartels. He wanted protection. He didn't know how to compete. So he wants non-competition. That's what antitrust laws and cartels are. Cartels like the oil cartel. They get together. There's no competition. 1879 to 1914, as I said, the gold standard. There was no government intervention. How nice was that? 1913 and 14, a big change in the U.S. The U.S. government starts intervening. 1914, end of classical liberalism, starts intervention. So the government starts taxing us and all this other bullshit with them. World War I, nobody won World War I. Every problem gets traced back to World War I in the 20th century. Triggered the war, killed the Archbishop of Austria. The Serbians wanted control over the Austrian states. The Black Hand Mafia, even back then, had an alliance with Russian Princip, the Black Hand, or the Mafia guy. I love how the Mafia's been always around. Demetrius was evil. The Black Hand leader of the Mafia killed the king of Serbia. Serbia wanted the piece of land owned by the Austrians in Yugoslavia. Must have had oil on it or something. Russians got French to fight the Germans and the Serbs to fight the Austrians. Russians wanted Constantinople. It's always about money. The war gets started. Serbia gets Serbia into the war against Austria. Russia backs Serbia. Austria declared war on Serbia. Germany backs Austria. Russia allied with French. Britain needs to back the French Navy. And how does Germany end up being the one that has to pay for this war when there was quite a few other teams involved? All right. That is your economics class for tonight. Well, I'm going to finish with this. The 3 periods of economic growth, as I told you. Number 1, 1879 to 1914, worldwide growth, 4.9% on the gold standard. Money supply can only go up 2.5%. Prices drop due to great productivity. A change in cash less than the change in goods. Percentage increase of cash was less than the goods. That's how it works with the gold standard. You've never had a better time in the world. The next was 1921 to 1929, high tide of the Federal Reserve, best growth ever, only in the U.S. Economic growth, 5%. Productivity went up 5%. Increase in cash equal the increase in goods. Stable, same thing. And that's when productivity started coming in. The Standard Oil and Henry Ford. And so it made the productivity. You went from horse and buggy to a car. So that's why it was such growth. And then the last is 1981 to 1989. And we all know who ran things then. It was Reagan. 3% growth rate. American manufacturing was 30% more productive. Computers, electronics, and prices then went up. So you had this new technology which caused this growth. And that's how you want it. You don't want them printing money for growth. You want the productivity to print them to have the growth. All right. So that be that. I love my economics classes. I mean, that's why I still know them now. As I say, I know all this. I don't have to look it up. That was just thoughts in my mind because sometimes I'm scrambled eggs here, but pretty much that's what was going on. And now what you have is the money being printed by the banks. They can't get paid back because these commercial real estates. These are some of the counter effects of the internet. You have an Amazon, so people DoorDash and people do that so they don't go to these commercial the strip centers, and they don't go to CVS if they can get it at Amazon, get it delivered to their door. They'll gladly pay the shipping because they're idiots anyway, and it ends up where companies go out of business. There's layoffs. There's less people in the pool to buy. You've got all these illegals in the country. Well, they're not making money. They're mowing lawns or whatever for $5 an hour. Now, I don't know if they let them in because they're cheap labor. I find that hard to believe. But knowing Biden, who the fuck knows what was going through his head? You can't let people into the country who aren't countrymen, right? You got to be a citizen to come in the country, or you're just visiting. Either way, but you can't just come in illegally and stay, and then you're taking jobs away. But they're low-level jobs. I doubt financial analysts came through Mexico and are taking jobs away. I think Trump going back to original Constitution, sound money. Well, he really doesn't have a choice, does he? He knows he can't keep going. The problem is he doesn't have any gold. Now, what you say about the Vatican may be, and if it is, it's in a private bank. It's not in the Federal Reserve. It's not at your Fort Knox. So there is no. Would J.P. Morgan have? I don't know. I think J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs were buyers for China. I think China paid them to do these derivatives and keep the price down, and then they bought. So I think they never really kept the gold. They just sold it. So I don't know if we have any gold. I hope we do, but I doubt it. Now, maybe we do. Maybe it's from the Vatican. Maybe it's Nazi gold. That's what the Vatican had, is Nazi gold. They took the gold to get the Nazis out to Argentina. There's a lot of our Nazis in Argentina. It's like little Munich or little Berlin. And so to get passage out, they took the gold. So the Vatican has their gold is Nazi gold, which is really fucked up. But that's what's going on with that. So keep an eye. The market, I don't know. The Bitcoin's back to 99,000. Well, it was 92,000 the other day. Now it's 99. Yeah, it sounds real secure. And that's just that sailor guy buying it on the dip. So it's 91,000. Larry Fink and him are buying it, and then they're going to sell it. And they're trying to suck you in. And if you go and buy it at 99, you're going to get fucked because there's no way it's staying there. And then it's going to drop to 91. What are you going to do? This is the problem with Bitcoin. If you even can afford a Bitcoin now. So the people that bought the Bitcoins early and now they say, oh, I made all this money, you better sell it because A, gold's going up, and B, Bitcoin's going to zero because Bitcoin is not real. And when this shit hits the fan, people aren't running to Bitcoin. First of all, they can't afford it, right? Gold's 2,700, so maybe 2,800. And Bitcoin's 99,000 or 95,000. How many Bitcoins you gonna buy? Or you can buy gold, and it's a no-brainer. But again, people think the price signal of gold doesn't have the value. But think about it. It's the only thing really. Rolexes I show you 200, 300,000. The Mantle card I show you is 75, 100,000. The Montana rookie's 100,000. The Rice rookie's 100,000. There's Brady cards for 4 million. So what do you mean they don't hold their value? I don't quite understand that one guy who keeps knocking baseball cards. Clearly doesn't understand it. Luke, if Bitcoin is 100,000, how can gold not do the same thing? I think it will. Like I said, you'll never see gold at 100,000 because when that happens, the dollar won't be there to value it. Gold will be its own value. So gold will buy your house, but I don't think you'll see gold at 100,000. Not because it's not worth it. It's because the dollar won't be in existence anymore to value gold. gold will get valued some other way, or it'll be the currency. Like I said in the sauna, the guy says, well, you got the gold, but then when you go to sell it, you're going to get, what fiat currency are you going to get? And I said, you don't quite understand, do you? The currency will be the gold. That's the currency, right? We have to go back on the gold back currency because all the fiat currency is going to zero. And it's not like they can go to, well, we'll go to the British pound number 2 and the US number 2 and the euro number 2. If they're not backed by gold, they're still worthless. They're just monopoly money. So even if they have a second one, it's still monopoly money. Germany still had problems with the Deutschmark after they got it off the Reichsmark. They had a few years where it stabilized, and then, like I said, in 1932, Hitler couldn't do anything. He was bankrupt. The money's worthless. The what gives the money value is the gold. That's it. But having it in this form, the gold and silver certificates, the value comes from the gold, but you can't have everybody with an ounce of gold in their pocket because there isn't that many ounces available. So you can print a lot more of these, but you back it by the gold. That's where it's headed. And then you'll just use it the same way. And that's kind of what you're going to do. So gold to hit 100,000, it would if the dollar stays around that long. But I think once gold starts going, you're not going to see. You're going to buy your house with an ounce of gold or 2 ounces at the most. That's my point with that. Silver will be skyrocketing, and that's what's going to happen. Not you won't see $100,000 ounce of gold. Bitcoin, you got to ask yourself, why are they letting Bitcoin run? Because Larry Fink controls it with the derivatives, and they can just as easily make it 50,000 as they are 100. It's because they want to tax you. So Trump knows he's got to pay the debt, and so he's going to try to do that. I'm curious with Social Security if I can still keep collecting it. I got to wait till Monday and then see what Trump does with Social Security. Now, I might be able to keep earning it, and then I'll get my paycheck and Social Security. And then I can buy an extra few ounces of gold then. So I've got to wait and see. Hopefully I can still collect it, but I won't know. I'm assuming I won't. I got January's, and then I assume I'll end it in February, but we'll see what Trump does. He wants to get rid of income tax. Never should have been there. We'll see, but he's got good advisors as far as if he goes to gold. I don't know what the credit card will be at that point. It'll be, 10 grand on your credit card. Well, there's no dollars. Now there's this gold back currency. Will the banks even be around to have the credit cards? Right. So if I have a Chase Visa, is Chase going to be around for me to pay them? Or does it go to JP Morgan and they'll take it over like they did with my E-Trade? This I don't know. So we will see. It's very interesting, but basically, all the stuff that we've got, the mortgages, the car payments, and that, they all go to zero because they're all in dollars. So if Trump comes out with gold-backed currency, all these go to zero. Will they then get replaced by, well, you owe us, you went from 10 grand to now you owe us $100 in gold-backed currency? Maybe. And then how are we going to get paid at work? Are we going to get gold-backed currency? So how does my salary change? You go from 100,000 to what? What are you going to pay me? 10,000 in gold-backed currency, which I would gladly take. That seems fair. But what's going to happen? They can't keep paying us in monopoly money. Now, I don't mind because I can do Rumpelstiltskin every Friday and go take whatever extra money I have after paying my bills and go buy gold and silver with it. So as long as they keep taking the gold and silver and it's at these low prices, you don't understand the buying the silver with toilet paper is a joke. I mean, Luke, you got 2 boxes, and I'd say I'd have 5 more if I were you. But I'd rather have the gold because Again, getting on the airplane with a box of silver is a little bit difficult. Getting on the plane with 2 or 3 ounces of silver of gold, they'll never know it. And you should be able. I don't know what it is. We'd have to check country by country. Like if you're going to go to Switzerland to cash it in, but you might as well cash it in here. I can go to my coin store and cash it in. The question is, what am I going to get? I don't want to cash it in for this. And I'm not really getting the gold to cash it in. It's not an investment like a stock where I'm going to cash it. It's to really hold. And then to buy a house, here's an ounce of gold. That's the idea, not to really cash it in and that. And then if I need the silver to go to the grocery store, fine. But there'll still be jobs. I mean, there'll still be work. It'll just be sorted out in gold and silver instead of dollars. Is basically the only thing that'll happen. So yeah, Bitcoin, you got to look between the lines. It's for tax purposes, and you're not immune. They know who you are, and we will see. Lucas, I think the asset prices in dollars will stay the same as now, but gold will be revalued according to the money supply. I have 6 boxes. Oh, good for you, Luke. That must be fun on your birthday, opening them up and laying them on the floor and rolling around in them. My gold's in the container. My silver's not. My silver's in the white containers. So I got 20 ounces and I just seal it. But my gold's all in. It's all in these hard plastics. So I do have fun with those when I take them out. When I get a new ounce, I show the family, yeah, we got more gold. The asset prices in dollars will stay the same as now. So what do you mean by that? So you got a Rolex. It's worth $100,000. So what are you saying? It's still going to be worth $100,000? That's impossible. But gold will be revalued according to the money supply. I don't think so. I don't think gold will be revalued to the money supply. Considering half the money is made up, right? All these loans. I think gold will be revalued at the market. That's what we need COMEX to blow up. And Russia and China are doing physical markets. So I think gold will be 20, 30,000 an ounce based on what the market determines it, just like the Montana rookie card is $100,000 because that's what the market says. And that's really how you value gold. What does the market say? You can't, you got $160 trillion. I mean, how much gold's going to be what, 75,000 an ounce? I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't see that. Again, it should be what the market bears. So how much am I willing to sell it for? And how much are you willing to buy it for? And there's going to be sticker shock because the buyer said, well, 2,700. I'm going to add a zero to that. I'm looking to get 27,000 for my gold, my physical gold once COMEX blows up. And your silver is going to be 2,000 an ounce. You're not going to take $30 or $50. And you don't like how it gets revalued. You're not interested in the revalue. You're interested in the market. So if somebody's willing to give you $1,000 for your ounce and it's revalued at 500, you're going to take the 1,000. But if they revalue it at 500, you'll never get the 1,000. So you want that out. You want the free market to take over. And because it's limited and there's more people that want it than there's actually supply, you'll make a killing. Your 6 boxes will be, you'll never work again. Your kids will never work again because the prices will, if it gets the free market, will be, you won't be able to find it. You must realize people don't really understand what we understand. And once people realize that silver's money, and yeah, it's $30 an ounce now, but once between the, the solar panel people buying it and the dental people and whoever else buys it, and then the fact that it's really money, it's going to get a double whammy. You're looking at least $1,000 an ounce silver. I think 3,000 because as we talked, the whole world is going to jump into silver and gold, and gold's going to get too expensive. So they'll have to go into silver to get out of their money. And that's why I think it'll be huge value. But I don't know that you can divide it by 160 trillion at least. And all these people are going to lose their ass on these derivatives and all the derivatives of the derivatives, like the Big Short, where we're all betting on the poker hand or the blackjack hand, and then they're betting on their bet, and they're betting on their bet. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Bet on the football game. I don't bet on what Bobby bet on the football. Okay, Bobby, I'll bet you $1,000 you lose. No, Bobby's on LSU. Either you're on LSU or you're not. I mean, that's the way it should be. But you always want the market to dictate the prices. You want to be able to sell it for what the market will buy it for. That's the whole point. That's the key to it. So the asset prices in dollars, you got to realize the dollar's heavily inflated, so it's not close to a. It's priced in bullshit dollars. So the Rolex at 100,000 of these is not real reality. It's then gold. It won't be 100,000 in gold. No, it'll be 100. What gold will be worth, we'll cut it down to maybe 5,000 for the Rolex, but in gold, not in dollars. So keep in mind all the prices in dollars. This keeps getting printed and printed and printed. It takes more and more dollars to buy most of the things, not everything, but a lot of things. Like I said, the Camry, he tried selling it for 35. Everybody said, no way. And now we lowered it to 27. Don't worry about deflation because the money won't be there anyway. And deflation is just the market reacting to, I don't have money to buy your thing, and now it's not a marketable thing. Like golf clubs. Okay, they're hot. Now I don't have money to buy golf clubs. The price of the value of the golf clubs go down. You can't get $1,000 for a set because I don't have any money for it. So the price goes down. Now, is that a problem? No. Is that deflation? No, it's no such thing. It's the market. There's no demand, just like there's no demand for the dollar. So there's no demand for the golf clubs. The price goes out because I can't sell it. If I can't sell this, there is no price. It's not deflation. There's no market for it anymore. The market shifts. Horse and buggies. Nobody could buy. Nobody wanted a horse and buggy because Henry Ford came out with the car. Was that deflationary that the horse and buggy went to zero? No, there was no demand. There was a new product, VCRs and DVDs and computers. They made it. Look at now. How many cameras do you think are sold with this? Right. This is. I'm getting this dirty. The phone has a camera. So why would I buy a camera? Unless I'm a professional photographer, I'm not buying a camera. And I mean, this even has a computer in it, and I can email and I can look at gold prices with it. I can get on websites. I can chat with Daria in Russia on WhatsApp. So this has taken a lot of the thing. Do I need a laptop now? I do because of Excel, but basically I can use my phone I can even do this on the phone, but I don't like it. It's too small for me. But theoretically, the phone's taking the computer, the camera. I can make calls for cheap. I can do it on WhatsApp for nothing. So that's really the point of it. As the production comes in, prices, things get up. So if a camera, you can't sell it because there's no demand because now I don't need one. I get a phone. Is that deflation? No. Prices going down. That's because there's no demand. That's how a market is. If people want your product, you get a price. That's a market. If nobody wants it, there is no market. So there's no such thing as deflation. It's a Keynesian term. Mostly deflation is when a bank wants money, is what I read in my notes. But it's not prices going down. That's just prices going down. Your house isn't worth as much. That's because the dollar, it's all goes back to the dollar being worthless. But the Keynesians don't understand that. Just keep printing more money is what they say. But the problem is there's no market for the dollar, and there's a huge market for gold and silver coming. The problem Egon has is you keep saying, well, only 0.5% of the portfolio is in gold because of all the inflation. He's not adjusting for it. So how do you know what percentage of gold's in my portfolio anyway? And the way they trick you and scam you, you want your money in stocks and real estate trust and then the bank and annuities. That's where they fuck you, is they keep you with the money in paper and not let you get out of the system in gold unless you're smart enough to understand that's the only place to be. Luke, how do you see silver getting to 3K? The same reason I see gold going to 20K. Silver is worth a lot more than it is. It's being COMEXed down. So again, it's paper silver. So it's the same as demand. When COMEX blows up and it's 4 years behind in silver, but they don't have Basel III. If they had Basel III and there would be delivery on these 4% derivatives, right now it's flooded with paper derivatives on the market, keeping the price down. Once we get rid of that, you have huge demand for solar panels. You have demand in other areas for the silver. And when gold starts going to 20,000 an ounce, nobody can afford it. They're going to, oh, silver's money too. And they'll start buying the silver. So I'm looking at it as demand. And then the Titanic thing we talked about, where everybody will realize their dollar's worthless and they got to get to the lifeboat. And then they're going to go to gold, but gold will be 20,000 an ounce. Just like Bitcoin. How many Bitcoins can you buy at 100,000? Not a lot. How many gold are you going to buy when gold's 20,000? Not a lot. Oh, but silver's money too, and silver's 200, 500, whatever. So the demand and the limited supply will force the price up. It's always supply and demand. That's how you get all the prices. And that's my point. So that's really what you're looking at. $3,000 is based on them keeping the price down, a 4 year shortage, huge demand from India, China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia for silver. They're all hoarding silver. There can't be much left. And if there's huge demand as the dollars go out, the price has to go up. 3,000 is a guess, conservatively 2,000, but people won't be able to afford gold, so they'll have to go into silver. And because it's money, that's the same reason gold. As you get out of the dollar and you realize it's worthless, you're going to be going into real money, and it's gold and silver. And so obviously the silver price has to go up. So that's where I'm getting it from. Huge demand, very limited supply, and the dollar going out, which means, well, I need money, and gold and silver are your only lifeboat. And 3,000 is probably very conservative, probably much higher than that, but minimum of that. That's how I'm doing it. I'm always forthright how I do it, and I always have a reason for doing it. I don't just shout it out, oh, it'll be $3,000, like, I'm Humpty Dumpty or something. And I really don't have a clue. It's just a guess. I don't guess. I give you facts, but I've told you about this before. Same reason gold's going up. So I see gold making. Let's see where gold is it back to 27? So I'm calling gold 27.50 by Friday close of business. Let's see if I get it. Do 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 do. 26.97. It did hit 26.99, but now it's Asia time. So we didn't get hurt too much at 10. Notice the spike. This is so obvious. So they raised the price to 26.94 just before 10 o'clock. And then look at the drop. So what's happening is the US is doing a derivative at 9:30, and they raised the price. So the derivative's 26.93 instead of 26.80, and it goes down to 20.76. So they make a little bit more by jacking it up, but now it's shot back up at noon. And you're going to see it continue tonight because now the Chinese have it, and look for them to make it go into the, we'll probably wake up at 27 and a quarter. And by the end of the day, tomorrow's Thursday. By the end of the day, Friday, we're looking at 27.50. And that's a fact, Jack, or the bottom line, or whatever you want to say. That's because you can see it didn't drop. It stayed at 26.50, 26.60 for a month from December 15th, and now it's never gotten back into the 27s. And now we're finally, you can see here's the move. Here it goes. You can feel it. And here comes Trump coming in. Well, wait a minute. If Trump's coming in, why is it up? And I love when I read this on Bloomberg. Well, it's because of the tariffs. If you think the tariffs are the reason gold's going up, you're a bigger fucking idiot than I thought. Talking to Bloomberg. That's not, I love how they give reasons for everything. Well, the gold's going up because of this, and the market's going down because of this, and Bitcoin's going up because of this. Well, we'll just say it's the Trump effect. It ain't no Trump effect. Gold's going up because the dollar's inflated, but they won't say the dollar's inflated. So they can't say, well, the dollar's going out because it has no value and it's lost 99% of its value. That's why gold and silver are going up. Or that JP Morgan price fixes it with their derivatives. They won't say that either. This is the main problem. So with that said, that's what's going on. So that's where I get the value. I'm trying to get to the real values because they've been pushed down with the derivatives so long, and the demand's going to be huge. That and like you said, Bitcoin's $100,000. I got Rolexes for 200-300 grand. I got mantle cards at 70 grand, and I got gold at 2,700. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. So that's where I get it from. But absolutely, and I think both guesses are very conservative. $3,000 silver could easily be $10,000 silver. But you got to be careful. And I love the Yankee Doodle Dandy guy. He's so clueless. Well, I think silver go to 35 and gold to 27.50. And the guy is like, you're an idiot. Don't do video. Why does people like that do videos? They're so stupid. He's just trying to sell because he's got a gold store. So he tries to, and then he says these ridiculously stupid things, and you just sit there. Or Craig Hemke put down baseball cards, and you're like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. And these guys aren't economists. They don't really have a clue about supply, demand, free market economics. If you print it, it will go to zero. They don't have a clue about this or the price fixing, or what a derivative is and how it's controlling the price. They don't have a clue. And they talk and they're like, oh my God, this guy said, well, what are you doing? You look like an idiot doing these YouTube things. I'm very confident because I know what I'm talking about. And if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't be talking about it. Anyway, that's the problem with half these idiots. And it's very frustrating for me to watch because as soon as they start opening their mouth, you realize they don't have a clue. And you're just, Rickards today said, oh, we haven't had inflation for 8 years. And you're like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. This is why I don't even listen to him. He was saying something about Bitcoin, so I thought I'd listen to the Bitcoin part. But, we haven't had inflation in 8 years. And then he starts talking about deflation, and you're like, okay, Keynesian doesn't know what he's talking about. Shut the fuck up. Get off my YouTube. How dare you go into my YouTube space? Anything else? So that's what we've covered. The gold, the silver, the economics, the inflation. As we know, it's printing the money. It's not prices. You really can't recover from it. Once you print $160 trillion for the petrodollar and everything else, and it goes away, you're fucked. There's nothing. The only thing is to come out with new money backed by gold that will save you. That is it. That is the only way. And it's really what you're doing is you're dumping the bad currency. So the only way to end inflation is to get rid of this. Okay, we're not going to use the US dollar. That ends the inflation because this is gone. And then, but you need medium of exchange. I need to be able to get paid for my work and pay my bills with it. So you have to come out with something new that will hold the value that I can get paid with and I can buy gold with and I can pay my rent with. That's your job, government, and you got to come out with a new money. And they did it. I mean, there was no euro before, and then they came out with the euro that Germany controlled. Germany's fucked because of the manufacturing, and all their car companies are fucked. Uh, Mercedes and Audi and Volkswagen and BMW are all fucked. That was Germany, and now it's gone. And Germany's bankrupt, and they can't compete because wages are too high. And they can still sell their cars, but like I don't know, the electric cars are probably more popular in Europe because a lot of the cities are small. They're probably designed with the Roman times, right? So here we have long. You want to go to Toledo? It's a 2 hour drive. You're not going to take an electric car, but you don't have that in Europe. You got trains. You go from Jenna would go from the Ukraine to Poland to Berlin on a train. Or we'd fly once in a while, but mostly it was on train, and she would train it. So you didn't need it. She's not taking an electric car, and she's not taking her own car. So she takes the train to go. And that's really what happens. So there's a little more demand for electric cars there, but I would never get an electric car. I don't want my car catching on fire or the battery dying, costing me $20,000, which would be an ounce of gold for. So you really don't want it. How do you see silver? Okay. What if gold and silver go way high and all the other assets go lower? Did I see your last one? I assume that's your last one. I was finishing my thought because if I get interrupted, I lose my thought. Um, well, all the other assets will be repriced in gold. So, for example, the $500,000 house you're going to buy with 2 ounces of gold. And so the value of the house really goes down to 2 ounces of gold. And let's say gold still has a value. Let's say it's 25,000 an ounce. So in a sense, the $500,000 monopoly money value of the house goes to real money, gold, which, as I told you, was Zimbabwe. Their Zimbabwe dollar was 30,000. $1 bought you 30,000, but then when the gold bag zig came out, $1 bought you 10. So it went from 30,000 to 10. That will happen. So the values will go to gold value. So a steak will cost you, instead of $25 or $20 a pound, it'll cost you an ounce of silver. That's it. So everything will get revalued into the new currency. That's what will happen. And that's it. It's not, but that's why we buy the gold and silver now. That's why you're buying the silver at 30 an ounce because, well, you bought it even cheaper if you got 6 boxes. So that's why you're buying it. And, yeah, you're frustrated. Jesus, it's only 30 because the banks are doing all they can to keep it at 30 because once it goes to 40, the banks are out because they have all these derivatives in silver at 25 and 20 that they're going to have to cover, and they're going to have to buy the physical, and they're all going to go broke. And that's why they're fighting with all their heart to keep the silver from going over 32 or 33. We'll see. If we get it to 35, you're going to see a lot of banks go under. I mean, these guys are idiots. Well, we'll just keep shorting gold and silver, even though the demand's huge. And BRICS, what they're doing, and Russia and China, what they're doing. Yeah, we'll just keep buying. We'll just keep shorting it. What are you, fucking bunch of idiots? So that's really the problem. So I'm not quite sure. The value of the house will probably just get turned into a value in gold. But yeah, I see what you're saying. 2 ounces of gold kind of would be 500,000. So it'll just be a different pricing mechanism going from monopoly to real money, which will have a gold or silver certificate on it. If we're smart enough, if we have any gold, I think with Trump in, he'll get gold. Maybe he has, and he'll just use his gold and charge us a fortune, I'm sure. But yeah, that could be what he does. Maybe he's got it. Maybe he's got the Vatican gold. I don't know, but um, the Fed doesn't have any gold. Put it that way. The Federal Reserve has no gold. The Fort Knox has no gold. That's ours. It's China's, and the Federal Reserve has no gold. That's the U.S.'s. It's all the other countries. Like in Die Hard 3, it was all these other countries' gold. That's what you have. So if we have any gold, it's not in the Fed. So where is it? And again, it could be J.P. Morgan. It could be Trump's swimming pool, like Putin's swimming pool. Believe me, Putin's got a lot of gold personally, as well as in the shadow banks. And I hate when these guys, like Rickard says, central bank gold, like they're too stupid to understand there's shadow banks, Chase and JP Morgan having gold. That's what China and Russia have, are all these banks with the gold in them. But they're not the central banks because they don't, once China's got 60,000 tons, that's the elephant in the room, because then that ends everything. Right now we know it, but most people don't. But once you realize that, it's all over. The game is over. So that's coming soon. China needs it because they're bankrupt. Russia needs it because they're bankrupt. So they're not going to just sit there when they're sitting on all this gold and not using it when, they got wars to fight. They need the gold. Luke, you will be living a lavish life soon, Professor. Well, that's the idea. There's no other way out for the world. That's exactly what I've been saying. It's the only lifeboat, because all these people are idiots and they all printed their money to zero. But you have to understand my notes that says if you have a money and it's not backed by anything, they will print it to zero. And I showed you Egon saying that every country in the world since the Roman Empire who didn't back their money by gold printed it to zero. And I told you that in the airport, and you said, "How about 10%?" And I said, "No, it's zero." And it's 1% now, but to me, 1% is zero. What's the difference? So yeah, your only lifeboat's gold and silver. And that's why I've been buying it hand over fist. Don't worry, your silver will be worth a ton. Especially 6 boxes of it. But the gold's going faster because it's tier 1 and Basel 3. And that's why they have to deliver the gold on these options. And that's why you're seeing it go up. And pretty soon the U.S. is going to have to cover their options again, because the Russians and Chinese are going to make them. And that's what's going to force 3,000 to 3,500 gold in the next few months. And then, as Egon's saying, it's going to go ballistic, because people will start realizing, and mostly Europeans, China, Russia, Japan, will start realizing the dollar is worth. Well, they already know, BRICS countries, but as more countries join BRICS, and we just had 9 more join, you have to have gold to join, to play in the game. We're going to have free trade among the BRICS countries, but by the way, your money has to be gold back. You're not coming in. I don't want this Brazil heavily inflated or Venezuela heavily inflated money. I'm not trading you in that. They're smart enough to understand that it's worthless, but your money has to be backed by gold, and then you can join the party. And so it just takes gold out of the equation. There's just less gold available, and people in the West needing gold will have to pay more for it. That'll drive the price up. So yeah, I know exactly what I've been doing since 2017. Well, since Biden took office. What was that, 2020? So I started, whenever. You got my videos on here. They go back at least 3. Before Alabama, I was buying gold and silver. So last 4 years, I bought a little back in 95 when I got my master's, like this gold chain. It was 1995. It was 250 an ounce. And this is why I'm divorced. My idiot wife's buying baseball cards or taking us to card shows. And I'm sitting there going, no, 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 I want to buy gold. I don't want to buy baseball cards. So fortunately, I'm getting lucky on my Montana. If it's worth 100, if it's a 10 or Rice, they could be 10s. I got a Bobby Orr that could be a 10. I got the Mantle 68 could be a 10. So these are very sharp cards because I was smart enough to get mint. So I could make out that way. And they'll all get adjusted to gold value, but they'll have value because you would trade gold for a Mantle card at a fair trade. U.S. Constitution says gold and silver are the only legal option to pay debt. Well, they're the only real money. And how we got to this money and how we got a central bank was totally unconstitutional. Income taxes are unconstitutional. There shouldn't be a tax that you pay for your. They knew that they didn't want to. In the whole 1800s, there's no income tax until 1913. What the fuck are they doing? Putting it in. How is it possible if it's not in the Constitution? This whole thing has gotten way out of control. They're not even using the Constitution, and they all swear to the Constitution. I'll uphold the Constitution, and none of them uphold the Constitution. Well, my lobbyist did give me $2 million to pass his little thing, so we're going to do that. Yes, it is all illegal. You know it, and I've been telling you. You know it. You've been telling me. It's all illegal per the Constitution if we're following the Constitution, which is the rule book, which is what we should be. That'd be like football going, well, it's not really 4 downs for 10 yards. We're going to play 5 downs for 10 yards. But it's in the rules, 4 yards for 4 downs for 10 yards. Yeah, but we're not going to listen to the rule book. We're going to make it 5 downs for 10 yards. That's what we're doing. We're totally ignoring the Constitution. But everybody's so corrupt, they just ignore it. It's like, yeah, I know the speed limit's 30, but we're going to go 50 and just ignore it. Well, that's what's happening is with Trump, the paradigm shift from all this woke liberalism back to a little bit more conservative. If he goes to a gold-backed currency, that'll get rid of a lot of the mafia who want money for drugs. But they'll take gold-backed currency for drugs. They'll have to adjust the drug prices because now there'll be gold-backed currency as opposed to monopoly money for their drugs. The Great Awakening. I don't know if it's that. I know it's the going back to the Constitution, maybe. And all these 2030, we can't have gas and we can't have electricity. The electricity's got to come from solar panels. Yeah, what a pipe dream that is. You got to be out of your fucking mind. What do you do now? It's dark out and there's no wind. What do you do? Here it's freezing cold, right? What do you do? There's no wind. Well, we don't have electricity. We're all gonna die because our heat won't come on because there's no electricity. I mean, come on. So that's bullshit. Nuclear power, it's so much better. And we're not destroying the world. It's a fucking planet. You can't destroy it. It's so stupid. It's all BS. The whole thing's BS. 2030. And then I notice a lot of the banks are getting away from the woke stuff. Like they all had to do that EFS stuff or the Larry Fink stuff. They're all getting out of it because Trump's saying, no, we're not doing that. So that's what's good about Trump. He's getting rid of the electric cars. He's getting rid of the solar panel and wind, and he's going back to what we should have. So this is why it's imperative that you have a fair election so you can vote for, but they've got to listen to you and do what they say. That's the whole key to the election. That's why it's got to be fair because I'm electing him to do what he says he's going to do. That's why it's important, because look what Biden did. He tried to fuck the whole country because, oh yeah, he gave George Soros some medal of honor, who isn't even an American citizen, being a great American or whatever his contribution. What, the guy tried to ruin the country, and you're giving him a medal? Oh my God! I wonder who was telling you what to do, Biden. He gives George Soros some medal out of George Soros out of nowhere. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for running the country while I was president, because I didn't know what I was doing. You're ahead of the game, Professor. The bird's eye view. Yeah, I keep telling you, I'm 5 steps ahead, but that's how I think. Um, See, I take A happens, makes B happens, makes C happens, makes D happen. I think I got it from my football predicting, where I'm good at predicting the games because I can kind of see into the game. And as I say, if the ice hits the Titanic, we're going to sink. So I'm bypassing all these other steps. We hit the iceberg, means the water's coming in, means the ship's going to sink. Let's go get to the lifeboats now. That's how you've got to think. That's how I think. So you inflate the money, everything's going to go to shit. The money's going to go to zero. It means gold's going to go up. So let's go buy our gold right now instead of waiting until the gold price starts going up and everybody panics going, wait till silver hits $50 an ounce. You're going to have lines at the gold store for silver because they're going to realize, oh shit, here it goes. Well, we're already in it, right? That's the whole point. We already know that's what's going to happen. We don't need to see the price go up. We know it will go up because that's the logical next move. The masses will know soon. God has given you insight, wisdom. That's cool. Yeah. Very well. That's why Jim Rickards or Andy Scheckman or any of these guys, they can't see it. I can see it because I know what the real definition of inflation is, because that's how I train myself. Well, that's what I do. I was telling people at work about the interview I had when I asked the guy, he says, do you have any questions? I says, do you know why gold's 2,000 an ounce? He says, no. I says, because I should have left, because if this guy's a CFO or director of finance or whatever, doesn't think logically to answer that question, the company's going to go broke anyway when all the inflation happens. He's too stupid to see what's going on until the train's 2 feet from his face. And I said, it's price fixed and you should be buying it at this price. And I amazingly didn't get the job, and I just chuckled. But if you ask that question to a finance guy and they can't answer it, you're done talking to them. I'm really stoic at this job. I'm not talking to half the people. I mean, I'm acting like I do at the club. I just walk into to the sauna or the hot tub. I don't look around. I don't make conversation. I only make conversation with the lifeguards, the pretty lifeguards. That's it. Otherwise, I don't make conversation with any of the idiots at the pool. Well, they don't know how to look for it. That's my gift. I figure things out. Like I said, there's that movie Limitless that's on Tubi now with whatchamacallit, Bradley Cooper, where he takes this pill and all of a sudden everything becomes clear and his IQ goes up. And he says, I know everything now. And I go, oh, that's how I am. I can see everything. And, but I'm very confident that before I say that I know it, I make sure I know it. Like, here, this is all, I know this. This is what's going to happen. It's not even an opinion. And people that don't listen, I'm done talking I just turn them off. I go, there's no further use to talk to you because I can't learn anything from you, and I can't help you if you're not going to listen to me. So why would we have a conversation? And that's kind of how I'm at now. That's why I like the class, because I know you come because of you're interested in the conversation, either football or the economics. And so I go, oh, I can talk to these people. And that's why Pat from Singapore listens in, because he gets somebody with a similar point of view. I don't know if I could have regular friends or girlfriends who didn't believe in gold or the inflation now. If they didn't understand, like Daria understands gold. If you don't understand gold, I don't think I could have you as a like a girlfriend or something. I don't think I could. If you don't get gold, and I'm because that's all I am, then I don't. There's no point in talking to you. Alyssa gets it, and Daria gets it. Um, Always remember your gift is from God. Truly, well, something like that. Maybe my angel has helped me, but um, yeah, I think that plays into like I wasn't really going to go for my master's. I got my undergrad, and I graduated in '84, and I didn't go back for my master's till like '93, and I graduated in '95. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have known any of this because this wasn't taught in my undergrad. So I happened to go to Walsh College where they taught Austrian economics, and it really turned me on, and I really got it. And I wanted to keep taking more Austrian economic classes. They didn't have any. They had a macroeconomics and a micro. And he talked about Keynes, which I really didn't want to hear because I knew he's the bad guy. And so I did that. But that was because I went to Walsh for a master's that I got that education, which is happening. But a lot of people I didn't talk to after because I said, oh, I just found out about gold and this and that. My family wouldn't talk to me or listen to me or agree with me. And I said, fuck you then. So you'd go off looking for similar views because you just found the what do you call it? The Holy Grail. You just found it. Nobody cares. You're like, well, fuck you. I care. But yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't forget it. But like I say, I think when you get these thoughts, hey, go back for your masters, I think that's God or your angels uh, telling you, kind of that's how they're telling you, hey, go for your masters and you're going to learn all this and then you're going to teach all these people. And I think that's my purpose. That's why I do this for nothing. Teach the economics is to teach people because people don't know, and it'll save many a life getting into it. Understanding gold and silver is the way out, and understanding it now and not when it's 10,000 an ounce and silver's 1,000 an ounce and you can't afford it. So that's why you buy it, and you buy as much as anytime you have extra money, you buy gold and silver because the money is worthless. So why do I want to hold monopoly money? Right. So I might get paid in monopoly money, but I can Rumpelstiltskin it to gold and silver. Then it makes sense. Right. So if I'm going to monopoly money it, then, but they'll still take it that I can buy gold and silver with it. And at $30 an ounce silver, then it's a joke. And that's the thing. People don't, the price is keeping you away from it because they keep the price down. And as I said, price is a signal. It tells you the value. It tells you Bitcoin's 95,000. Oh, I better buy some of that. Or the Mantle card or the Jordan rookie or Montana. That's what the price dictates. It's got a value. And that's what the price with gold and silver is misleading because it's not a real price. It's a fake price. And that should warn you, wait a minute, why is that a fake price? What are they hiding from you? And that's what it is. They want to keep you in the dollar and keep you out of gold because they can't control you in the gold, right? They can't tax it. They don't know you have it. Like you put money in the savings account, you got to pay interest. You got to pay tax on the interest. What the fuck is that? Gold goes up. I don't pay a nickel. Mm-mm. And when I sell it, I won't be selling it for dollars. So I don't even know how we're going to pay our taxes. I mean, if you think about it, How are you going to pay your taxes when the dollar's gone? You can't. Keep that in mind too. Uh, Keep studying, preaching the gold news. Love it. Well, I'm done studying, but I do. That's why I watch the videos. I find an Egon and a Mark McGuire, so I try to learn if I can learn anything from them. There's very little I can learn from most of these guys. Mostly they're wrong, and I'm frustrated, and I say, "You're an idiot because you don't even know what inflation is. It's inflating the money supply. It's not prices." So every time I hear it, I get frustrated going, see, so I'm not really learning anything. I already know it, and they're talking four levels down and they don't have a clue. And they're trying to say, oh, and then people don't understand. They think the prices are the inflation, and it's not. The theory is the money devalues, so it takes more dollars to buy. That's why, like, you'll hear adjusted for inflation for football tickets or movie tickets, or the price of movies, Star Wars. If we adjusted for inflation, they got in $10 billion, not 2 million, right? Adjusted for inflation, and even that's not close because it's not really prices. And don't forget, you can never measure inflation in percentages. It's impossible. It's just printing the money, and the percentages are coming off of prices, which is not inflation. As I told you, there's several ways that you can't raise prices or lower them, and so you're trying to adjust inflation. It's totally the wrong way to judge it, and it gets the people in trouble. That, oh, inflation's done. Why would I buy gold and silver? It's not done. It's just starting, and you should buy it because it's about to go to the moon. And you won't buy gold and silver. You're going to stay it's to keep you in the stock market or the banks or the annuities or the real estate trust or whatever. It's to keep you in because the banks control everything. So the Wall Street banks want you in the stock market. So if you go into gold, they lose you and they'll never get you again because gold just sits there. So they don't want you in. They don't want you out of the stock market. So that's why they make up these lies. And then Warren Buffett, what an idiot he is. Well, gold just sits there. You dig it out of the ground, you put it in the ground, and you don't do anything with it. What the fuck do you do with a Rolex, Buffett? Or do you have assets? Do you have a house? Do you have $1 million house? What do you do with the house? It just sits there. I mean, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And this guy, everybody thinks is so smart. Oh my God. They're okay. Give them some slack. Well, like I say, I can't give them slack when they misrepresent what inflation is or that gold and silver are paper and price fixed. If they don't say that, I can't give them slack because they're not understanding the most basic principles of what we're teaching. So how can I give them slack? Right? I give them a little slack because they're trying to sell gold and promote it, but if they don't understand the derivatives that it's price fixed, then I can't, Yankee Doodle Dandy. The guy's such an idiot. Well, I think silver will go to $35 an ounce this year. Dude, it'll be like 300. What are you talking about? You don't understand it's price fixed. You don't understand the dollar's going out. Oh, that'll never happen. What do you mean it'll never happen? There's no demand for it. If there's no demand, there's no value. So again, they can't comprehend the logic, so they just sound like idiots. So it's really hard to do that. You're speaking wisdom, news before the news, macro view. Well, I don't know about macro, micro, but it's mostly this is what's happening, right? And yeah, that's again, I think in fifth dimensionally ahead of what, if we hit the iceberg, I know the boat's going to sink, right? I can put two and two together. Well, if you print the money, the gold's going to go up. That's just pure taking steps into it. Well, the money, you're printing the money and it loses its value and inflation, and then that makes gold go up because the thing is that I know the dollar's going out and I know it's lost 99% of its value. That's the difference. I'm already aware of that. And most people think, oh, well, we're the reserve currency. We can't go out. Just like we couldn't ever lose the petrodollar. I kept hearing, oh, no, we got the petrodollar. We're fine. Oh, never lose that. Yeah, it's gone. So don't tell me that can't happen when it has happened. So anyway, it's just, you've got to be able to think third dimensionally like that, which I'm really good at. I do it a lot. Like if I see somebody, the way they look at me and react to me without talking, I can, if I see a girl and she smiles at me, fine. If she doesn't and she's got a cold look, I don't, that's it. It's all done. I'm not going to waste my time. Maybe she's shy and maybe she doesn't mean it, but like Jenna, she kept giving me a hard time about Positano and Positano and all that shit. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. There's nothing to do. You're fucking doing this to me. Well, go fuck yourself. What am I going to, you want me to marry you and you're going to do this shit? See, people, I've been thinking on that, like all these people get married. And it's like, why? Why are you insecure to be alone? Are you really in love with this woman and you're willing to give up all the other women to be with one woman? Because you're don't want to be alone? That's not why you should marry somebody. You marry them because they make your life better and you make their life better and you're better together. But they see things. For me, they got to be in the gold and at least understand I do football and not give me a hard time, or I play golf or whatever. That's really what you've got to, why you would get married. But really, I don't think anybody should get married. Very few people should get married, maybe twin flames and things like that. But why? Why are you getting married? So I don't really understand that one. I think it's just insecurity. I don't want to be alone. And the girl, well, nobody loves me, and I'm going to be alone. So they get married to not be alone. And of course, the marriage never works out because you didn't get married for the right reason. So anyway, that's what happens. Things like that. Or give them grace. It's different. It's okay. Well, as long as you're saying things that make sense, I don't mind different. Like I said, I learned from the doctor about the cayenne pepper and or Jenna. If Jenna's going to hound me on, I said Positano instead of Positano, I got a problem with that because I don't think she doesn't get how I think. I don't even think about it. It doesn't bother me if I say Positano or Positano. But if you're going to give me shit for it, then why are you worried about this? You're in the middle of a fucking war. I'm worried about the economy going to crap. And you want to bring up, I said a word wrong, or I did this or that, or I wore a polo shirt and I tucked it in. And, this is the shit you want to worry about. So, yeah, probably don't want to be with her. Yeah, I'm heading to bed soon too. God on the throne, he gives us what we need and more. Heading to bed. All the best. Good class there, Professor. Good things coming, my brother. Yeah, no, it's always good to see you and Bobby on. Bobby was on a little last week where you saw that. But yeah, it's always good. And that's one of the vehicles of the class is to have live conversation. That's why I do it live, to have live conversations. In other words, people will have guests on and they'll ask them questions. And I prefer having students come on and ask me questions that is really real questions, and then I can answer them. But yes, it sounds good. I'm going to bed too. Well, I probably won't go to bed, but I'll turn on the TV and veg out for a while. I got to do some dishes. Anyway, have a good night. Buy your gold and silver. Get rid of be your Rumpelstiltskin. Turn your worthless monopoly money into real gold and silver. All right, everybody. Have a good night. www.teaserking.com if you want the football picks. And we got 5 games. We got 4 in a college, and then we're down to the Final Four next week, and then the Super Bowl a couple of weeks later. So it should be interesting. Should be a good Super Bowl. You have good teams in each conference, either Detroit or Philly or Kansas City or Buffalo would be a good Super Bowl. But if you think about it, the Rams have no chance, and Washington. There's no way with that defense they can win it. They can get to the Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. So this is they're going to have a hard time beating Detroit. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Tomorrow's Thursday. Keep your eye gold. I'm telling you, 2750 by close of business Friday. We got Martin Luther King Jr. So Monday we're off. So I'll definitely be on Monday. And anyway, so have a good night and enjoy. All right. Take care, everybody.